This is the Red Podcast.
This is episode number 72. If you're an entrepreneur, chances are you're sleep deprived. There are three main reasons that you may not be sleeping. We're going to talk about all of those. Also tell you what to do so you can get better sleep, get more done, and have more energy to do it. That's coming up on this episode of the Red Podcast.
This is the Red Podcast. Real entrepreneur development. Make more money, work less, and live a life of freedom. No BS advice that really works. Here's your hosts, David Hooper and Laurel Staples.
This is the fourth episode in the new Red Studio. We can actually see each other. I can reach out and touch you. That's how close you are to me.
I know, it's very exciting.
It's kind of weird though, isn't it?
We're in a little closet.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. It's a closet with a ton of equipment in it, a bunch of foam, and a bunch of soundproofing.
Pretty exciting. Have you posted pictures?
I have. Twitter, if you go to twitter.com/TheRedPodcast, that's our username, The Red Podcast, you can see pictures of the Red Studio. But you know, as much as we joke around about this being a closet, which is basically what it is, this is not that much different from what I do the syndicated show on. It's only about, I'd say it's about 25% smaller, and we get 5 or 6 guys in there sometimes.
Wow. I think the two of us is just enough. I can't imagine adding an audio engineer and a producer and everything like that.
And a couple guests.
Yeah, that would be tough.
It would be. So we're still learning our way around here. I've noticed some of the recordings, I think, are a little bit hot. We're learning how to use these new mics. So thanks for bearing with us. This is the Red Podcast. Red stands for Real Entrepreneur Development. We help you build an audience, sell more products, and make more money. We show you how to find the hidden assets of your business, the hidden money. This isn't about fads or tricks or hacks. It's about implementing strategies that really work and will explode your business. It's also about how to live life on your terms. And speaking of that, we had some feedback over the last couple of episodes. We were just joking around about me being a guy that would not go to bed till 6 or 7 a.m. On a good day, once I kind of got it in order, I was going to bed at 2 or 3. But you flipped that on its head, Laurel. When I started hanging out with you, you were early to bed, early to rise, and here I am. I'm doing the same thing now.
It's true. When I met you, you were going to bed probably about 2 to 3 and getting up probably around 10. Is that accurate?
Something like that. Yeah, some mornings, though, and this is the problem. This is what folks were asking about. Some mornings I would wake up for like an a.m. yoga class. So I would still go to bed at 2 or 3, but I would wake up for an 8 a.m. yoga class. Wouldn't get a lot of sleep. I could force myself to do it, but I would be tired, not very productive. Then I would have to come home and take a nap. I was taking naps almost all the time.
Yeah, I remember you taking naps about every day and going to bed late and doing the whole cycle over again. And when did you start to get into your new cycle where you actually started to go to bed? When I did, which is around 10:30.
I had wanted to do this for a long time, but being a musician, being a guy who was out in clubs doing music marketing, there were a lot of times when I was working those hours, and after years and years of doing it, it just got harder and harder for me to flip it on its head. And I think it's when you and I started living together that I said, all right, well, I can't be working third shift while Laurel's keeping a normal schedule. This is a great opportunity for me to do it. And I did do it. It took a while. It was very painful. It took me about 2 or 3 weeks, I think, to actually get it in order where I felt comfortable doing it. Now I can't imagine it not being that way. With that said, when you go out of town, sometimes I revert to my old habit.
And you order pizza and delivery. So a lot of things are going on when I'm out of town. But what would you say now is kind of your napping schedule? Do you have to take a nap? Are you tired during the day? How do you feel? Because you get up pretty early.
I get up actually earlier than you, probably 6 days out of the week at this point. So I'm really into this early thing. As far as taking naps, I don't take naps on a consistent basis, but I do find that I need to take naps when I'm working really, really hard. If I'm in the middle of like a writing project or on a tight deadline and it's really wearing me out, sometimes a nap will help me to push through that.
But I would say in general, because you're getting the right amount of sleep at the right time, that you're not as tired as you were. Would you say that's right?
Absolutely not. I'm getting a whole lot more sleep because you like to get 9 hours of sleep a night?
I do. My family makes fun of me as like the sleeping queen. Like I need more sleep than the rest of my family.
So that's affected me. We're going to talk about that, though. Some people need more sleep. Some people can get by with less. But if you need more sleep, you're lacking energy, you're not in control. If morning meetings are a bitch, this is the episode for you.
Here's the thing. When you're an entrepreneur, you need a lot of energy. This is not just like you go to work, you sit at the desk for 8-9 hours a day, and you go home. You are wearing all the hats in your business. You're doing all kinds of stuff. You're having to manage a lot of energy. And I think of sleep as making a deposit into your energy bank account. A lot of people wake up tired. They have to drink a lot of coffee. And that's like going into debt for your energy bank account. You want to put enough sleep in there so that you have energy to last throughout the day, like David said he does now, but he didn't used to. So today we're going to be talking about reasons you don't sleep, maybe reasons you're having trouble sleeping, and also what you can do about that so that you can have the energy you need to run your business, if you're working a day job, to work your day job and run your business and make things happen for yourself.
So there are really 3 reasons why people don't sleep.
The 3 big reasons I find people aren't sleeping, myself included, my clients included. Number 1 is FOMO. Have you heard of FOMO, David?
I live FOMO.
FOMO is fear of missing out. My friend has major FOMO at night. Second one is blame your brain. Your brain is going 1,000,000 miles a minute. You can't shut it off. You have that monkey brain, and you can't fall asleep because of that. And number 3 is a time management issue or habits. David, you were just talking about you got in the habit of staying up late and you weren't able to get your work done early in the day, so you had to do work later in the day, or that's just how your schedule is working. So if you are affected by any of these big 3 reasons that people aren't getting to sleep these days, listen up to the rest of this episode. We're going to talk about ways that you can help yourself get to sleep, get more sleep, and wake up refreshed.
Let's talk about FOMO. Do you have that?
I don't have FOMO.
Okay, so FOMO, fear of missing out. And yeah, I've got it. I think a lot of entrepreneurs have it. We've talked about shiny object syndrome, and that's basically FOMO personified. You think that something is going to happen, and it's that guy who invites you to the party, and you think to yourself, oh my gosh, there might be some chicks there. Oh my gosh, I might have a really great time. You don't want to be that guy like the next day that hears, oh man, you missed the best party. That's FOMO, when you get freaked out about possibly missing something, so you basically overextend yourself.
I mentioned earlier that my friend has FOMO, and what happens is she is exhausted at 9:30 at night. She is ready to go to bed and get sleep, and she has to get up at probably about 6 a.m., but she has a fear that there's still more to the day, that she wants to spend more time with her husband, that there are other things to be done, and she doesn't end up actually doing anything. She actually ends up kind of sitting on the couch and watching TV, but she has a fear that she's going to miss out. It's an illogical fear, but it's still a fear, and you might have that too.
I definitely suffered from that for a lot of years, and what I had to do is systematically, one by one, go back and think about all those parties that I went to where nothing happened. Think about all those shows that I went to where nothing happened. Think about all the experiences that I was afraid I was going to miss out on something, and nothing happened. You have to go through those systematically, and you really have to trust. Sometimes you are going to miss out on something, but the question is, do you want to continue living the life that you're living now, where you're tired, don't have enough energy, can't get done what you need to get done, or do you want to be well rested and be able to accomplish what you want with the proper energy that's needed for it?
It's kind of like you have to collect data and then look back and say, okay, what is important to me? I didn't get anything out of watching TV till midnight, 1 a.m. every night. And I actually could get something out of going to bed and having the energy that I need to do what I need to do to build the life that I want to build for myself. So I think you've got to collect the data, like you said, David. Okay, look at all those nights that you stayed up for no reason. And then you have to say, okay, what is more important to me, and start to prioritize your life and take control of your day and not let it control you.
Let's talk about brain activity. You and I are completely different on this. Once I hit the mattress, I'm out in about 2 minutes.
I am so jealous.
You're just the opposite. I can't even mention something to Laurel like, hey, Laurel, what about this idea possibly? And that's going to keep you up all night.
Yeah, no business in the bedroom. I spend hours like trying to relax, and we're going to talk about some of those things today, but I spend hours trying to turn my brain off and relax so that actually when I get into the bed, I can fall asleep like you, David, but my brain is going. I have that monkey mind that just doesn't want to turn off.
See, I'm able to turn it off and on, and I think what it was that enabled me to do that, yoga. Because yoga, you're being present. You're thinking about your breath. You're thinking about getting your body into these contortions. You're thinking about staying in the pose for a while. And I think doing that, I think it's just one of the secondary effects of it. You're able to control your brain a little bit better. It's made it very easy for me to just turn it off and go to bed. Another thing, yoga and just general exercise, you're worn out by the time you get to bed. Now, you exercise every day. You're out hiking. You're at the gym.
Oh, I'm worn out, but the brain is going.
What are some suggestions for somebody in your situation? What do you do to kind of keep that brain at bay?
For me, I try to have some rituals before I go to bed that get me in that relaxed state. So what that looks like for me is I have to shut off doing work, I would say no later than 8 o'clock. And I like to do, and it's hard for me because I really like what I do and I like what I'm doing during the day, but I have to say, look, Laurel, it's time to stop. I try to actually stop before dinner and make dinner and do other things. So I think having that stop time for yourself, because as an entrepreneur, you love what you do. You could work on it all the time. You have to be really disciplined. If you're having trouble sleeping at night, maybe having a shut off time that's a couple hours before you go to bed, that's going to be really helpful.
One of the reasons you're able to do that is because you are very disciplined. You've got great time management. You've got good habits. In the morning, and we'll talk about this in a second, I have more of an on-ramp. You're right at it. You're working from that list. You get the work done so you don't have to worry about it later on in the day.
Exactly. That goes into the time management portion, which is another reason you might not be getting to bed if you can't manage your time properly and it gets to 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. You might still have a lot going on. And that's something that you're going to have to end up changing your habits and getting better at time management in order to handle.
We've talked about time management a lot here on Red Podcast. If you go to redpodcast.com, there are several episodes that talk about time management, several episodes that talk about energy management. If you go to redpodcast.com, look in the right-hand column, you will see time management and energy management. Click on one of those. You'll see tons of episodes to listen to. So if you want to get more specific about your time and energy management, that will help you do that.
I think first you have to become like a detective and figure out, okay, why is it that you can't fall asleep? And once you do that, there are several things that you can do. And I think first, David, let's talk about the foundation that everyone needs to get a good night's sleep.
You need a good location to sleep. Now, that sounds obvious, but a good bed.
Our bed is awesome.
Yeah, we got a king-size bed. We need some room. Laurel still takes about 90% of it.
It's all my side, the whole thing.
But you want to have space where you can spread out. Here's another thing about our bedroom. There's no television in the bedroom, no radio, no electronics in the bedroom.
There's nothing glowing, no clocks, anything like that.
There's none of that. We keep electronics out. The bedroom is just for sleeping. And I know a lot of people, they think, oh, wouldn't it be relaxing to watch a movie in bed? Well, no. Movie, active experience. If you want to watch a movie, go find a place to watch it. There are two things that happen in the bedroom. One of those things we can't talk about on the Entrepreneurship Podcast. The second one, though, sleep, that's the other one. So if you're not doing one of those two things, don't do it in the bedroom. No movies, no electronics, no radio, definitely not a computer where you're doing work.
So that's your foundation for getting a good night's sleep, is having a good place to do it. That's something that's always been important to you and me, David, is to set up that space. We don't talk about business in there. We don't watch TV, as you said. We don't have any electronics. It's dark. It's cozy. And that's really helpful.
Our whole house, when you think about it, including the Red Room here, the Red Podcast Studio, we have our segmented space. We've got segmented space where we do our work. Each of us has our own office. We've got a kitchen. That's where the food is made. We've got the Red Room here. You've got a photography studio. We've got a bed that we sleep in. So we're really good about segmenting different elements of our house. And when we go back to talking about the monkey mind and your brain going, there's something that your mind does when it's in an area where you only do one thing. That's the reason why you want to have a dedicated sleeping area with none of this other stuff, no other activities. It's going to help you go to sleep easier.
That means don't bring your iPad, iPod, laptop. Don't bring any of that in the bedroom. Don't do work in the bed, because then when you start to get in the bed, your brain starts to turn on like you're ready to do work, and you want it to be turning off. So be sure to just leave all that stuff out of the bedroom.
Let's talk about some strategies for sleep. I've got something. People make fun of me for doing this.
Who makes fun of you?
Laurel makes fun of me every night.
I do not.
I wear an eye mask. Not only does it make the room darker for me, I think that's good, but it's also like my uniform. It signifies to my brain that it's time for sleep. Put the eye mask on. You can't deny the results, Laurel. 2 minutes, I'm asleep.
You kind of look like Zorro, like a blind Zorro. That's what it...
Like a mummy Zorro.
Like a mummy Zorro. Yeah, that's what it is.
Well, the eye mask, $5-6 on Amazon. To me, they've been really, really amazing. Some people I know, they like quiet. And I like quiet too. We happen to have a quiet area, though, where we can sleep. Earplugs. The darker it is, the more quiet it is, the better you're going to sleep. Laurel mentioned it when it comes to getting up. Caffeine. This is very common throughout the day. People use it to get up, but not only that, to stay awake. And that can also affect your sleeping. Personally, no caffeine for me. Laurel, no caffeine?
No caffeine. Did I tell you the story about the last time I had a full cup of coffee?
No.
This was back when I was working my corporate job, and I've had a full cup of coffee twice in my life, like just a regular caffeinated cup of coffee. And both times I had them at 8 a.m. in the morning, and I could not sleep the entire night, both nights, at totally different times. And so I was like, that's it for me. I'm not going to do that.
Well, I think that shows the power of what a caffeinated cup of coffee can do. We don't know this because we're so used to ingesting this as Americans. We do this all the time. Like, you ever seen those guys? They're on so many drugs, they can take a bunch of pills and you don't even know it.
No, I haven't seen them, David.
You should be in the
Are
music
you hanging
business.
out with those people?
Sometimes.
Well, my friend...
But caffeine is that way.
Well, my friend, we went to coffee the other night, and it's about 9 o'clock at night, and she gets this huge latte, and it's caffeinated. And I said, how do you sleep after this? And she said, oh, coffee doesn't affect me. But I guarantee you it does on some level. She might not be aware enough to notice it, but if you're thinking, oh, caffeine doesn't affect me, try it without caffeine and see how much better you feel.
Well, there have been multiple sleep studies done. Caffeine absolutely affects you. You might be able to get to sleep, but it does affect the quality of your sleep, as does booze. You know, booze will wake you up early in the morning because it depresses. It's a depressant, and it will depress your sleeping mechanism. So you will sleep if you drink it, but you're not going to sleep very well. That's the reason alcoholics wake up so early. And we're not trying to get moral about caffeine or about booze. Drink it if you want to. We're just telling you that it will affect your sleep. Multiple studies have proven that as well. We've talked about this, no electronics, but no electronics before bed. Those are very stimulating to people.
Yeah, the blue lights are something. They've done scientific studies on that when you look at blue lights before bedtime, it stimulates sunrise. It stimulates, it's time for your brain to wake up. So you're actually giving your brain the wrong signal when you're checking your iPad or on your computer.
Yeah, we're not talking about blue lights. We're talking about blue light waves. There's a program called Flux, and I know it's available from Macintosh, but it actually takes the blue out of your computer. So if you must use a computer late at night, it'll actually come on at night. It's easier for you, apparently. They've had studies to back this up. If you're going to use that, it's easier for you to adjust to sleeping after the fact. So FLUX, look it up. We'll have it in the show notes, redpodcast.com/72 for those.
Another thing that I've started recently, David, is when my brain was just going nuts, I decided, okay, I have to do something about this. And I went on Amazon and bought a yoga DVD. It was yoga for stress relief. And I thought, okay, this will be great. And I do it right before bedtime, about 9 o'clock. We go to bed about 10:30, 11-ish. And it just kind of helps you calm down, be present, calm your brain. And that's been really helpful for me. And I was telling my friend that I got this DVD and it was helping. And she says she uses an app. It helps with your breathing. it helps you do about 6 breaths a minute, but it just calms your breathing down.
It's like a mindful breathing app.
It's a mindful breathing app, and I wish I'd gotten the name of it, but I'm sure you could search for it on
we'll
iTunes.
put it in the show notes, redpodcast.com/72 for that.
And that's been really helpful for her. She said she does it right before she goes to bed to calm her brain down and just get in the moment, and right when she gets up.
Well, speaking of watching your breath, that's actually the first thing that I do when I wake up. There's something in yoga, it's called pranayama. When people think of yoga in this country, in the Western countries, we think of what they call asana. That's like the physical yoga. But there's also a breath yoga, and just like breath can put you to sleep, it can also wake you up. That's the first thing that I do when I wake up. And let's talk about waking up and strategies for waking up. Of course, before I wake up, how do I do it, Laurel? Not a buzzing alarm, but
thank God.
Actually another app, it's a progressive alarm. A progressive alarm starts very, very quietly, so much so that because I wake up before Laurel, I don't even know if you hear this progressive alarm, but it progressively gets louder and louder and louder until you get up. But you can actually train yourself to not have that crazy buzzing, but it's just a little bell, ding, like that. You wake up, and it's like Pavlov's dog almost. You don't hear this tone other times during the day, so you're ready to go. And yeah, that's how I start the day. It's like a breathing exercise. It's called pranayama. We'll have that linked in the episode notes. There are also other ways that you can do that, even if you're not into like the hardcore yogi breath kind of stuff.
Like what?
Splashing water in your face.
That's what I do every morning. That helps. Have you ever done that?
I have done it, thanks to you.
Oh, it feels awesome. It's like you're tired and you've got that kind of bed eyes, and then you splash your face with water, and it's like, okay, I'm awake. I can take on the day.
Bringing in light helps?
Yep. Light is big. Have you seen those alarm clocks that light up gradually to wake you up?
I have seen them, but see, I wear the eye mask. So they
that
don't
would
work
not
for me.
help.
Well, and that's the downside of the eye mask. Having light come in, it does help you to wake up, and that's why they have those progressive light alarm clocks, because it's like sunrise.
Something that you're really great at, David, that I am not great at, is you don't hit the snooze button. Your alarm goes off, you get up. My alarm goes off, snooze, another 8 minutes, snooze, another 8 minutes, snooze. This is a terrible habit. How do you feel like you got in the no snooze button habit?
This is a great way to end the episode. I was working with a sleep expert, went to a seminar, found out all about sleep because of this guy. And I know that we sleep in cycles, and we'll link this from the episode notes too. There's a great program called Sleep Cycle that's available for iPad or iPhone that can actually monitor your sleeping, just like a sleep studio almost, lets you know how you're sleeping. But if you look at that or other results from a sleep test, we sleep in cycles, and 8 minutes isn't enough. When you're sleeping, it's not really that deep sleep after you've hit the snooze button, not for 8 minutes anyway. It takes time to get into that. So if you are going to take a nap, this is what I learned from the sleep specialist. 25 minutes or 90 minutes, that allows you to have a full sleep cycle. So if you must take a nap, that won't interrupt you getting to sleep later on that evening and just throw the whole thing off. Laurel, have you seen these sleep houses? He talked about a sleep test done in one of these things. They've got no windows. They're like a casino. And the guy in charge is controlling the lights. And what they would do is they would leave lights on certain parts of the day, turn them off. And when they were off, turned out all the electronics, the people had to go to bed. What they found when people would come in to these sleep experiments is that the people were chronically sleep deprived. And it would take them a while. They would sleep 12, 14 hours at first if he would let them do that. And then eventually, once they got their sleep back and they got their rest back, the ultimate time for you to sleep, about 8 to 9, about what you're doing, 8 to 9 hours per night. But I'll leave you with this, and I think this is really interesting, something we've mentioned here before. College athletes, the best college athletes, they've done studies on them, and they're out, much like an entrepreneur, using their body, using their brains, trying to study, trying to do this college football, basketball, baseball, whatever they're doing. They needed more sleep. So for those guys, 10 hours of sleep per night kept them from not getting injured as often, kept them on top of their studies, on top of their games, and kept them well rested to do what they needed to do. So you may actually be like, Laurel, well, you need more because you work harder than I do.
Well, I want to know how you get yourself out of a warm, cozy, king-sized bed in a dark room when your alarm goes off.
Because you push me out, because you're taking 90% of it, and I just don't have much space at that time.
Good point. Good point.
Thanks for listening to the Red Podcast. If you've got questions, comments, you've got an episode suggestion, we are available to you at redpodcast.com. If you want a quick answer, check us out via Twitter. The Red Podcast is our username. We're trying to build the real entrepreneur development community, and you can help us by going online to iTunes. Search for Real Entrepreneur Development. Find us there. Leave us a rating. Leave us a review. That will help us to come up more frequently in the search engine there. The more people that find us, the more people are turned on to this material, the bigger the real entrepreneurship community grows. You can also tell a friend. We'd appreciate that as well. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on the next episode of the Red Podcast.
You've been listening to Red Podcast, Real Entrepreneur Development. Subscribe today using iTunes, Stitcher, or via RSS at redpodcast.com.